Outside in the parking area, a replacement inner circle limo pulls up and out steps Le Champion Chris Jericho. Marvez goes running over to him with a mic. "Chris, a quick word. Last week we saw Jeff Cobb spear Evil Uno through the TNT LED Tron. We believe the Inner Circle have been fined $10,000 by AEW management. Anything to say?" Before Jericho can respond, Brody Lee blindsides Jericho. The two brawl in the parking area. Security finally get involved and split the pair up. Jericho is pissed as he heads back towards his limo, saying "screw this." Jericho climbs in, telling the driver at the same time to take him to the airport, and the limo drives off. So Jericho is out of here as we kick off Dynamite this week with a 63 segment. Let's get on with the show. Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to another explosive episode of AEW Dynamite. Next Saturday, we travel to the UK for the first time ever, and the card is already looking fantastic. That's right, Jim. Cody versus Marty will certainly be a match for the ages, and with the stipulation that if Marty loses, he leaves AEW never to return. Things couldn't be any more intense. And once again, in tonight's main event, we'll see Kenny Omega in action as he takes on the bad Brody King. And gentlemen, after the Battle of Britain Battle Royale was announced last week, we'll find out who else will be taking part for the chance to become the next contender for Jon Moxley's world title. And if that's not good enough, we have the in-ring veteran Mickie James in action against Dr. Britt Baker, who she'll be facing in that fatal four-way for the women's title next Saturday. Let's get on with the show. So it's a strong start with a 54 there from the commentary team in front of almost 7,000 fans here at the Nashville Auditorium. So tonight's main event looks like this. Kenny Omega in action against Villain Enterprises' Brody King. We'll also see Hangman Adam Page up against the veteran that is Christopher Daniels. And as already mentioned, Mickie James is in action tonight against Dr. Britt Baker, preparing for her match over in the UK next Saturday. And we'll also see FTR in action, and that is up next. But before that, footage is shown from early today. We're backstage with Tully. He can be seen and heard talking to the three, Dax, Cash and Tully Blanchard. That should actually say Hangman Page. And he goes on to say, "Boys, things are going great for us at the moment. Dax, Cash, you two need to keep on doing what you're doing, especially in your match tonight, which opens Dynamite against those SCU boys. Lot at stake. They're former tag team champs here. Make that statement. You know, I can't remember the last time I saw such a fantastic tag team that was so in tune with one another. Keep this up and you'll have those tag titles around your waist in no time. Now, Paige, you got this tonight against that fella Daniels, who so happens to also be a part of SCU. You're in that Battle of Britain Battle Royale. Win that, and you get another shot at becoming AEW World Champion. You can do this. Forget about Kenny, the Elite, and all that background noise for now. Now is the time for you to focus on yourself." Until he sticks his hand out and says, "Fear the revolution." They all stick their hand in, as there is a real togetherness between these three, these four at the moment. FTR, Hangman Page, everything looking really good for them as we head into that first match between FTR and SCU, and it gets a segment rating of a 71. It's a good match, and it's FTR that come out on top against SCU in 13 minutes and 18 when Dax pinned Sky with a fast roll-up. So Sky still comes out of it looking kind of strong, but look at that in-ring performance from both Cash and Dax, 73-71. I think when we first signed them at the start of this series, their in-ring performances weren't up to scratch. They weren't the best, but now, well, as time's gone on, they're putting in the work. They're becoming one of the better tag teams that we have here in the tag team division, and they're currently on quite the roll at the moment, unbeaten. As we roll into our next segment, it's a backstage segment with the best friends Trent and Chuck Taylor. Trent says to the camera, "Things haven't been all rosy for us here in AEW. We haven't been handed opportunity after opportunity. Hell, just to get a match here on Dynamite has been difficult. After what happened last week, we went to Tony Khan. We said we wanted the Lucha Bros, and he accepted. In the UK, it'd be the best friends versus Lucha Brothers. And to make things interesting, he said, your tag titles are gonna be on the line. And oh, we got some other news for you Death Triangle amigos. But we'll let our friend break that to you." They turn to Orange Cassidy, who walks into shot. And he goes on to say, "Pac, twice we have fought and twice you have beaten me. That ends next Saturday when I face you for your TNT title in a 2 out of 3 falls match." So there's 2 title matches made for the UK trip. The tag titles between the Best Friends and the Lucha Brothers and Orange Cassidy and Pac for the TNT title in our first 2 out of 3 falls match. Should be interesting as we move into our next match of the night between Mickie James and Dr. Britt Baker. In about that had decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling. It was Mickie James that defeats Britt Baker in 10 minutes 30. Segment getting a 53. How well has our women's division developed now? Over the last couple of weeks, we're just constantly getting 50s. So good to see. And hopefully it's only going to get stronger with the Brandy Rhodes' women's division initiative. Mickie James is celebrating her win over one of the other competitors that will be in the Fatal 4-Way match next Saturday in the UK. Dr. Britt Baker gets to her feet and attacks Mickie from behind. She lays down a beating, pummeling the veteran Mickie James. Then locks in the lockjaw. Paul Turner trying to break it up. Mickie passes out and Baker eventually lets go. Toni Storm, the women's champion, rushes out and Britt Baker just shoves past her as they pass on the rampway. Backstage we see Chris Statlander watching a monitor with a slight smile on her face. Next Wednesday we'll have the contract signing then for the AEW Women's Championship. That'll be the go-home show before the pay-per-view over in the UK on the Saturday. Things are only really just getting started here in the women's division now. As I've already mentioned with Brandy Rhodes' women's division initiative. Got plenty planned. Hopefully it all pays off in the coming months. Earlier today, Tony Schiavone spoke with the world champion Jon Moxley. And he goes on to say, "So John, in Full Gear, you successfully defended your AEW world title against MJF. Now, next week, you'll find out who your next contender will be. There's a lot of interesting names that will be participating in that Battle of Britain. Surely you got to be feeling the pressure, the net closing in." Moxley goes on to reply, "Pressure? I don't feel pressure, Tony. Why do you think I've lasted so long as AEW World Champion? Nah, I'm having the time of my life. This is what I'm here for. I'm here for real competition, to be pushed to my limits. I love it. I live and breathe this. I look at the list of guys that'll be in the Battle of Britain and honestly, there's no one there that worries me. How about a guy like, let's say, Lance Archer? You have history there and we've seen what he's done recently to Matt Hardy. Been there, beaten him, done that. Next." Shots fired from Jon Moxley towards the Murder Hawk monster Lance Archer. This gets just a 69 segment rating. Was expecting more there for Jon Moxley. As we roll into the next segment, it transitions over. All of a sudden, things can be heard crashing on the floor. Tony Schiavone and Moxley turn to look and see Lance Archer and Jake Roberts storming towards them. Then both Moxley and Lance Archer stare one another down. Archer can't take his eyes off the AEW World title draped over Moxley's shoulder. Archer slaps the title hard, jolting Moxley slightly. Archer gets spun around by DDP. They square up to one another, and he says, "You know, one of these days, someone's going to put you in your place. If you do win next Saturday to face Mox here for that title, I hope he beats some damn respect into you." Archer just shoves DDP in the face as he storms out. Jake just shrugs and then follows as Mox watches. on with Tony Schiavone and DDP. So another 64 segment rating. It was a 69 for the first one and a 64 for that as we move swiftly into our next segment. This one's the bout between Hangman Page and Christopher Daniels. If Page won, he was into the Battle of Britain Battle Royale, and he does win. He beats Christopher Daniels in 6 minutes 39 with a turn of the page. Got 70 rating. Tully Blanchard was the road agent. Christopher Daniels penalised for that decline in physical ability. He is now 50 plus Christopher Daniels. So we've got to pick our moments. We've got to pick our matches for Christopher Daniels. But after the match, Hangman exits the ring after picking up the win to advance to the Battle of Britain Battle Royal next Saturday. Christopher Daniels sits in the ring looking distant. He doesn't move. After a while, Frankie Kazarian comes out to console his tag team partner. Daniels just looks down, sad, thoughtful, after losing his chance to go to the UK. Eventually he stands up and leaves with Kazarian, to the crowd clapping. What could this mean for Christopher Daniels? Could Daniels be on his way out of in-ring competition? We will just have to wait and see. I know AEW and Real Life have teased this a few times before the pandemic hit. And we'll just see where it goes. Anyway, with C. Taz then stood backstage on his own with a mic. This gets a 56 and goes on to say, in 1 week, AEW fly over to the United Kingdom for a special episode of Dynamite. In 1 week, one member of Team Taz will win the Battle of Britain Battle Royale and become the next contender for Mox's World Championship. I have 3 guys who are very capable of dismantling Moxley for that title. Think about it, Mox. Brian Cage is a machine, someone who's still undefeated here in AEW. Like yourself. Ricky Starks, who will quite easily give your old ass the runaround. And EC3, well, he's already got the better of you a few times thanks to MJF. Every good champion has to lose at some point, and your time is running out. Now, speaking of MJF, you punk-ass kid, what makes you think you have any chance against my behemoths? Wardlow? Butcher? Blade? Seriously? Those guys are still as green as the money you are wasting. But by all means, continue your spending. See you all next week. Again, shots fired as we do see Team Taz in action. Brian Cage teaming up with EC3 as they take on MJF's hired muscle, the Butcher and the Blade. But it is Team Taz that overcome the Butcher and the Blade. In 12:31, Brian Cage pinning the Blade with a flying elbow drop. It's quite a disappointing match, to be honest. It gets a 57. EC3 was really off his game, so that didn't help matters. He got 55 in-ring performance. I mean, if he's off his game, that's still quite decent. We saw that MJF was at ringside, so was Taz. So MJF was in the corner of the Butcher and the Blade. Taz obviously in the corner of Team Taz. This match was done to a very hot crowd, so that was good to see. Hopefully that will go towards the overall rating. It's nice to see that the Butcher is developing his selling. Brian Cage was penalised for chemistry. He was overwhelmed by management. That's interesting because after the match, MJF steps up into the ring flanked by the Butcher and the Blade. He squares up to EC3 and can be heard shouting, "I made you! If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be here right now." Taz has a mic. "Maxwell, you seem annoyed. You need to calm down a little, buddy." I know. Team Taz here are, and well, let's be honest, just seem better than you, and you know it. Listen, next Saturday, we're all over in the UK, but before then, we have Dynamite on Wednesday to take care of. Now, we could easily just take the night off and prepare, but that's not how Team Taz operates. We're out to constantly make statements, which is why I'm proposing a match. How about you step into the ring against, I don't know, EC3? And why don't we up the stakes a little also? You lose, you don't enter the Battle of Britain. MJF takes a moment, then replies, "You're on!" Drops the mic and walks out. This segment getting an 82. EC3 getting better at his gimmick. He was superb as well, working with that script and Taz did a masterful job of improvising interactions with the crowd. So the stakes are high. Next Wednesday we'll see MJF against EC3. If MJF loses, he does not make the trip to the UK to compete in the Battle of Britain. Should be interesting as we move into our next segment. The Inner Circle limo pulls up next to a private jet. Chris Jericho steps out and can't believe what he's looking at. You can just imagine seeing the blood drain from his face as the camera pans round to look at his jet, and graffiti can be seen painted across the side saying, "RIP Inner Circle." Jericho is almost tearing his hair out, screaming, "Darby!" He looks around the runway, but there is no sign of Darby. Jericho stomps up the steps and into his jet and can be heard saying to the pilot, "Did you see him? Did you see who did it?" The pilot replies, "No, sir, no." Then Jericho takes a seat and says, "Just take me home." So Jericho not only has had to deal with Brody Lee earlier this evening, he finds himself at the airport and, well, his Paymaker Phantom has been ruined. That's what we're going with. That's what we're calling his jet, the Paymaker Phantom. Before Kenny Omega versus Brody King, Cody is seen sat in his VIP box on one side of the arena, and on the other side is Marty Scurll in his own VIP box. But he is flanked by both Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Good Brothers. Kenny Omega's music hits as the main event is about to begin. We get a 73 rating for this segment, including Cody and Marty Scurll, and the main event is a good one. And about that had great heat, good wrestling. Kenny Omega overcomes Brody King in 17 minutes after lifting up the big man for a one-winged angel. Kenny Omega with an 86 in-ring performance, Brody King with a 54, and he was really off his game for this match. That's disappointing to see. So I think those two could put on quite the match actually in real life. Be interesting to see. And this match got the crowd buzzing. It was done to a hot crowd as well, apparently. And then after the match, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, climb into the ring to congratulate Kenny Omega, but he just kind of shrugs them off as he calls for a mic and says, "Next Saturday in the UK, this Villain Enterprises problem comes to an end. As Cody v Marty is already official, I'm now announcing that myself, Nick and Matt, the Elite, will take on Gallows, Anderson and Brody. Then me and Hangman, we got some things to iron out." Kenny drops the mic, exits the ring, leaving Nick and Matt speechless. Kenny is all business and doesn't seem his usual self as Dynamite goes off the air. It's a great segment to end this week's Dynamite. Simple but effective. And Kenny Omega laying down the law. So we're going to get Cody versus Marty next Saturday in the UK, and also the Elite versus Villain Enterprises in a 6-man tag. So then, let's go and see how we've done with the overall rating for this episode of Dynamite that was held in Nashville. We get 76. The show increased our popularity in just 11 regions. Could certainly have been more, as we should have gained popularity in 2 American regions. But we reached the limited number of viewers there with our broadcasters. We're going to have to have a look at that at some point. But looking at the show, looking back at all that now, I'm not sure it was my best show that I've done. To be honest with you, I was expecting a lot lower than a 76 overall for this one. But the quality of matches, I think, just saw us across the line. You know, Kenny and Brody, and also that tag team match between FTR and SCU certainly helped it along its way. But I felt as though it went a bit flat in the middle of the show. And I think that's what's kind of let us down here today for this one. I think we could have got more than 76. So we drew a 1.83 TV rating, 1.3 million viewers tuning in. On TNT it was a 1.18 with 886,000 tuning in. We beat NXT in show rating again. The quality of our shows much better than them over the last couple of weeks, but it's NXT that beat us in the TV rating as they score a 1.88. They had a total of 1.4 million viewers as well. So that's going to be it then for this episode of AEW Dynamite. The next 2 episodes are going to be huge. You guys don't want to miss it. But for now, thanks for watching.